Hey guys, Tab from Freefly. Doing another Q&A session, and we're going to show some of the different ways in which you can mount MōVI Pro. So we've got it mounted on the ring. This is the default way it'll ship with a handheld bundle. I've got a Mimic here, just as a quick. I love this. You can see RCP. What? Oh, great! It's working. It's working, guys. It's working. RCP adjustments here, so I'm adjusting ISO. You can see it changing on the red monitor back there. And this will work from anywhere between 600 feet away to 1.5 kilometers away, depending on how you measure RF performance. This is the same, we're using the same radio module that RT Motion is using in their system. So it's been one that people are very happy with from a range perspective. You can see you can toggle through, adjust frames per second. So you can see it's changing on that monitor as well. You can come in here, click into raw mode, back out of raw mode. Red code, like our compression settings, we can sit here and adjust. And the firmware team has definitely just done like a first pass at getting the top features that we requested in here. And we'll continue building this out over time, / potentially collaborating with Fool Control, that kind of thing. There's all kinds of things still to figure out in this ecosystem that we're developing, what things will be most useful for people on set. So I'm going to power this down, and then I just want to go through a variety of different... What's that?
Question?
Just call them out.
Potential for roll pocket extensions to accommodate longer zooms. Weight limit still 15 or higher?
Still 15 pounds. I say that knowing that people will put 40-pound packages on there and send me behind-the-scenes photos of ridiculous things being done with MōVI. So 15 pounds is the limit. There is no provision to put longer tubes here. That's not to say that somebody with sufficient ambition couldn't tackle that project, but we don't recommend it. There's a lot of trade-offs when you go to build something like this. When we started out, there's so many features that we want to include, but you have to realize that, you pick one thing and you say, oh, the roll beam, these tubes, we want to make these longer. So you make those longer, and then that drives a change into the structural stiffness of the roll beam. And then all of a sudden the gimbal weighs 2 pounds more and you can't hand hold it anymore. So it's, I don't know how many people believe this when I say this, but it really is a delicate balancing act the whole way through the development process in order to create a product that's light enough to truly be a handheld gimbal. Because I see, what?
Another question?
Just call the question out.
General ETA, when you'll be able to use third-party wireless follow focus hand modules?
There is no ETA because it's not a firm decision at this point. It's something that we're discussing internally, trying to figure out what the path forward is, what's best for customers, what's best for us from a development standpoint. The idea is very interesting though, so when we have a firm decision, then we'll definitely comment on it. I don't want to say anything out of turn though without discussing with the engineering team, because there's tons of implications and everybody's got their own plan as to how this is going to go.
Have you guys tested control with weapon series cameras and jet modules?
We have tested control with weapon. We shot with weapon helium with Ty Evans, and it worked. The only thing I ran into on that was our RCP cable was a little bit too short for the stock weapon control port spacing. So we revised that cable to be a little bit longer to allow the stock spacing to work. I think if you have either of the jetpack modules though, it should work fine. It's kind of hard to do without a stand. So you can see, you can switch to, these are like the classic handles, so we have a narrow version of these if you want to operate in tight spaces, so in a car, going through narrow doorways, that kind of thing. So I'm going to pause the motors again. So most people, if they've worked with our ecosystem, are familiar with the toad in the hole. It's a two-stage process where you've got this molded fiber reinforced plastic clamp, and then these two push button toggles, and the toad is like it's like a precision fit plunge basically, where it just pops in there and then you activate the clamp. So you just clamp that thing down. So this is another way you can roll with MōVI Pro. So this way was kind of inspired from some of the work that Ty Evans did on We Are Blood. He kept sending us these behind the scenes photos of him skating with the thing and with these custom handles that he had hacked together. So we decided to actually make a real handle of our own that would satisfy those needs.
What is remote range, and does it work well for a cable cam application?
Remote range is between 600 feet and 1.5 kilometers. So we're unsure how to state radio range. Like the module that we use, the manufacturer states a 1.5 kilometer range. I don't think that's a realistic number that people are going to get in field. The number that we've gotten where we've been unable to get less range than this number in our testing is 600 feet. So I would say in every environment that we've tested, we've gotten at least 600 feet. If your line of sight with an Alta or something like that, we're getting at least 1,000 feet. So radio is one of those things that's completely variable and completely up to, you know, how you have the thing set up. If you're obscuring or blocking any of the antennas, anything like that, you can have drastic reductions in performance. So, you know, like with this wireless system, if I encapsulate the antenna like this, it might have a 75% reduction in range. So it really depends on good setup and good practices while using it. So, pop that guy out. We'll go to Alta next, and this will showcase the flip by roll. One thing that people have been, let me grab my water. One thing that people have been asking about is, can you use the new ring on old gimbals? Absolutely you can. So this is the new ring with M5 mounted on there. It looks a little bit undersized. The new ring is pretty big to accommodate the new MōVI Pro, but it can work. You know, it's very stable for, especially for MōVI or M5. It's pretty lightweight. So feels nice with the M5. It'd be nicer if the ring was maybe a touch smaller, but it will work. So moving on to Alta, I'm going to mount MōVI Pro on the top of Alta. So on Alta 8, we've got this quick release top battery compartment. So that just mounts in the same way with the toad in the hole, so you can pop that right off. I'm going to quickly fold these arms out to get a little more room for mounting it. So the Alta arms just fold out and latch. So we've got this gimbal. This is still on, by the way. I just hit pause motors, so it's still on and live. And you can see on roll, we have the ability to roll 180 degrees. So I can flip that right over, go to top mount on the Alta. Just going to loosely clamp that down, so it's just for demo. Activate motors, and we're live and ready to go. So you can see when you're actually shooting on set, the ability to switch from ring to Taro to Alta, that kind of stuff is very quick, especially, you know, I think everyone's familiar with it at this point if they've used Toad in the Hole.
Will the MōVI Pro work with an Alta 6 carrying a red?
MōVI Pro Alta 6 red. Yeah, it'd have to be a lightweight red setup depending on your elevation and temperature, but I think there is a configuration there that'll work. Especially with, actually this is a good thing to touch on. One thing I'm excited about for aerial applications, I really like to fly with the EF lenses, just the Canon EF lenses on the red. So the ability to have iris and focus control with no additional weight penalty for external focus and iris motors is a huge deal to me, because for those of you who follow like Freefly's aerial career, I really like to fly these things hard and aggressive and push them to the limit. So I really set up my aerial packages to be as light as possible, which this new RCP action really helps.
Question, is there a new Alta coming, and when is it?
I love how people jump to the answer that they want to hear. There's no plans for a new Alta right now. Developing the Alta 6 and Alta 8 was maybe the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my life, so I'm really enjoying working on gimbals for a moment. When you have a firmware issue with this guy, it doesn't kill anybody, which is fantastic. So I accidentally flipped the roll, but just to show again, like say we're shooting handheld and we want to go Taro, roll just flips over, down on the toad in the hole you go, you're good to go. So we use this on the Ty Evans shoot for some of the shots where neck face is on the ground, having just had some crack and some other stuff and taken a little nap and drove around and got some cool shots. One other thing that we've been using a ton lately, and I thought people would find interesting, and I've been getting a fair number of questions is the car mount. One other thing to note is the gimbal is still live. I've just paused the motors for each of these switches. So, this guy's not set up properly right now on rebound.
Question, are we going to develop a single handheld gimbal for mirrorless and or DSLR cameras?
I would love to. That sounds great. That's a tough, it's a tough question. We only have so much time to devote to different projects, and that's definitely on our mind. Figuring out exactly the way that we want to do it that adds the most value for like the A7S type shooter is something we're still thinking about though. So back to this guy. I just want to quickly run through what this is and why I think it's cool. So we've got MōVI Pro, toad in the hole, and then all the black stuff here is from a company in Sweden called Flowcine. And this is the black arm and then their vibration isolation system. This is something we bought recently from Peter because I really wanted to play around with shooting hyperlapses and MōVI lapses from the truck, which I've just been shocked at how well this whole system works. And one of the cool things is, I'll show you in a second how portable it is, but you can take this whole system off and on, and we travel with it. And when we go on productions like we did in LA with Ty, we can just take this, pop it into the trailer hitch of our rental car, and you have this, on the site shooting option for vehicles, which is just killer. So I'm going to actually just show how easy this is to take apart real quick and how we travel with it. And we've just, for this truck, this Tundra, we've just added a mount in the front so that we can mount either to the front or the back of the truck. That's Dave.
Got a good question. What's the best way to travel with the MōVI ring on a flight?
Well, I prefer a G5 or a Global Express, but if you're stuck flying commercial, then I would say in a Pelican case, or a Thermodyne case, like our mobile case. Just in a case, or the thing is so tough, you can do excess baggage too if you wanted to. So again, this is the Flowcine black arm. So I'm just going to loosen these two guys real quick.
Got another good question. Features listed online talk about it. Advanced auto tuning, which is great, but will we be able to customize stiffness settings, or are those customizable parameters completely gone?
They are not gone. You still have full control over whatever. If you're an advanced user and you want to do crazy stuff that we're not thinking about, you absolutely can. So this is the vibration arm that comes off. I will say though, I'm one of the guys that typically likes to control my own settings, but this new auto tune is so good that I just mostly use it. It's always within, it always does a better job of tuning than I'm able to myself in the time that I usually have. So black arm pops off with 2 bolts. This is a really cool quick release Mitchell mount from GripTech. This is like a secondary clamping mechanism, and then you loosen down here, and there's a little cam. I don't know if can you get under there to actually see that too? Well, actually, I'll just pull it off and show. So this pops off, and you can see it's got this cool little camming feature where you turn it, those open, and then you cinch it down onto the Mitchell mount. And none of this stuff is crazy heavy, which is nice. And then this is a custom piece from, is it LSK?
LSK.
LSK Performance in California. This was a contact through Motion State. So these guys make this custom hitch mount to Mitchell adapter, which is really cool. It's got these tie down points in case you want to ratchet strap it to your truck to keep it from swaying or bouncing. So this whole thing just travels with us, breaks down in 5 minutes. You can switch it from the front of your truck to the back of your truck. And then again, to just show how it goes together, Mitchell mount, quick releases on here. Got the thing open.
Are those cases just back ordered?
What's that?
Cases back ordered?
Ground case? Yeah, I think the ground case is back ordered right now. Lock that on there, cinch it down.
And how's working on the Ursa?
I haven't worked with the Ursa. I don't have really much experience with it. I'm mostly shooting with, and then this guy just mounts to this post with these two clamps, just as you saw earlier. And then you can adjust the height of this post independently.
How is the water resistant on the MōVI Pro?
It's much more water resistant than past MōVIs. What?
How water resistant is the MōVI Pro? Yes.
Oh. Ryan, are you having problems with English again?
Yes.
One of the things that you need to succeed at Freefly is resiliency. So let's go look at the MōVI Pro and I'll talk through water resistance.
I think the Ursa question was more about if it mounts up.
I don't know actually. I'm not that familiar with the camera. Do you know who?
It's big, but we haven't mounted one up on the MōVI Pro yet, so I don't know.
From what I remember seeing it at like the trade shows and stuff, it seemed like it was big, and it felt very plasticky, and it was very light. Is that, or is that not the right camera?
It's the right camera. We just
Okay.
haven't mounted it up yet, but we can try to figure that out.
Okay, so as far as water resistance, the motor drives are now co-located with the motors, and they're covered in this plastic closeout panel, and those have kind of a seal where the plastic crushes into the machined piece. So these are pretty well sealed. The GCU and the TSU features these.
Are you guys hiring?
We are hiring all the time, always. What role? So there's these grommets that cover all the ports on the TSU and the GCU. So what I would say when people ask me about waterproof, I feel comfortable shooting with this thing in the same type of environment that I shoot with Epic. So I would say that the MōVI Pro is at least as waterproof as this camera is. So certainly things like if you're going to go shoot in pouring down rain, I'll put a bag over critical parts just like you would with a camera. But definitely we've been cruising around with it in the Pacific Northwest, and it's not like there's very many nice days this time of year. So
What wireless HD system do you recommend and use?
all the stuff we use is like Teradek and Paralinks. Those ones, I think they're all the same. They use roughly the same chipset, the low latency Amimon chipset stuff. Anything that has like a higher latency for us for aerial use doesn't really work because it makes it very difficult to frame and that kind of thing. So we typically stick to those systems: the Connex, Paralinks, Teradek, those kind of things.
Is there integration with the Connex?
There is not integration with the Connex. I don't know exactly, like there is integration in that you can power the Connex from this D-tap up here if you want to. That's how I have my personal gimbal set up. So there's a little D-tap here that you can power the Connex. I think we have the cables coming to allow Connex integration in the future. I'm not sure why you would want to do that because I think the range of our RF system is quite a bit better than what I'm typically getting on the Connex. So I don't know, maybe there's a use case that I'm unaware of, but so far I haven't really seen a need for it.
Anything new on pan balance?
Just that I recommend doing it. It helps with the shots a lot. The way it happens is there's two levers here underneath, and you open those kind of butterfly like dual levers, and then the tubes can slide right here. So they slide forward and backwards. These alpha units, the tubes are a little bit oversized, so it's more difficult than on the production units to slide them, but that's how it happens. And then since the ring is tipped, it's in a natural state where you can check balance. So if you put it to the side and it stays like it's doing now, you're pretty good on balance, and then you just close those two clamps.
Have you tried time lapse with a MōVI and a crane?
And a crane, what does that mean? Like a tower crane or like a cinema crane? I think it would work fine depending on how smooth the crane can move. I think that would be the limiting factor there. What else did we want to go over?
There was a question about tools for a 360-degree cam.
Tools for a 360, like for VR type stuff? Tools. What is it? What do you mean exactly?
I think it probably means can you use a 360 VR if there are any tools to make it work on the MōVI.
Yeah, I mean, so far I've seen a lot of people that are like flying the Ozo on Altas, and they have the Ozo hanging down below the gimbal. and then counterweighting above to allow it to stabilize to some degree, but then get it far enough away that it's not, it's not, you can stitch the Alta and the gimbal out okay.
What's been one of your favorite ways or scenarios you've seen the MōVI used?
I mean, the one I always go, there's tons of them, but the one that's always just so visceral to me and so impressive is when Kirk was going off the jumps with, crazy Olympic skiers. Do we have?
It's up in that.
It's up on that thing. If you've paid attention to MōVI shots over the year, I'm sure you'll remember this one. And then one that was going all over the internet today was the straight out of Compton pool shot. Was awesome. I love ones that take I love the ones that have a high degree of complexity and where if you mess up one little thing at all, there's like a domino effect that you have to go back to one and start over. I love seeing when people pull those off. It's great.
Is the gimbal operated via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi?
The app connects to the GCU with Bluetooth low energy. Our RF is a 2.4 gigahertz frequency hopping spread spectrum module. So there's Bluetooth and then a 2.4 long range module in there too.
Where's your business located?
Woodinville, Washington.
Are you friends with DJI people?
I am friends with some people that work at the company. I'm reasonably friendly with the company. I don't know. I bought a Mavic. The thing's awesome. It really is. It truly is. I mean, it's if you would have told me 10 years ago when I was flying crazy things like that, helicopter around the world over there, that there would exist something that could fit in a pocket of a hooded jacket that can do what that thing can do. It's unbelievable. It's awesome.
Any resources for figuring out comparability with powering directly from MōVI Pro for the Ursa? With the hot swappable batteries.
Yeah, so I would say if you have a solution for your Ursa that allows you to power it off of an 11 to 14 volt camera or a DTAP like this guy, then it'll work. Even if we don't have the cable right now, I don't know what kind of power input that thing uses off the top of my head, if it's like a standard, industry standard, or if it's just like a DC input barrel jack, I don't really know. But as long as there exists a cable that allows you to power it off of DTAP, and it's within the 11 to 14 volt range, and it draws less than 6 amps, it should work fine off MōVI Pro.
MōVI Pro all carbon fiber?
We can talk through construction from kind of top to bottom, the different materials that we've used. So all the tubes that you can see are carbon fiber. So the ring is made of a really, really lightweight 30 millimeter diameter carbon fiber, machined aluminum. The toad in the hole is mostly machined aluminum and some steel on some of the critical wear parts with titanium nitride coating. Pan motor mount is all aluminum. Pan cover is plastic. Pan toggle clamps are plastic. Coming back here, 2 spine tubes each one is one piece, and they're 25 millimeter carbon. There's a machined brace right here to prevent those pan tubes from skewing, and to kind of help with the layup of them. The gimbal control unit, this is all plastic. It's a plastic screen. There's TPU grommets that are designed to keep everything dry. The wiring is all custom, overmolded and strain relieved, so you can see it's all custom wire, multi-conductor wire that carries signal and data in one wire. The roll beam is machined, and then it's also, to make it even stiffer, we added a carbon closeout panel in the front, kind of stiffen up, create a thick box section here so it's really, really stiff. I think this one is 2.61 times as shit, or like 260% as stiff as the M15 roll beam. Carbon arms going forward, machined motor mount again at tilt, and then a plastic cover. All the cage is 15 millimeter carbon tubes. All these clamps are plastic.
Would you say the size is equivalent to the M15 or the M10?
M15. Yeah.
It's the longest lens in the MōVI Pro you've had great results while flying in the Alta. 8.
135, maybe, you think? It's either 85 or a 135 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the 135 is kind of hit and miss. Like, you will find sections that are great, where you've had smooth air and minimal disturbance and smooth flying and that kind of thing, or good gimbal operating, that kind of thing. But I would say 85 probably has a better hit rate, and then as you get to 135, you're going to be pulling chunks and pieces out. Like if you had to film at 135 for an entire shot, it might be tough. Unless you're Hugh.
Will the range be improved with the MōVI controller for aerial applications?
There are, like this, I think this is something I need to do another live thing on, because with my MōVI controller, I get at least 1,000 feet for aerial applications, and I hear about some people that aren't getting that, so I'd like to understand why they're not getting that. There's some stuff you can do with, I'd love to see like pictures of people set up so I can try and understand and troubleshoot, but you should be getting at least 1,000 feet with the MōVI controller. But yeah, we're definitely considering the best way to offer this new radio module for MōVI controller users if you want it. Like, I guess right now you have to add a MōVI controller receiver like we've got here to talk to the MōVI controller. In the future, we're going to explore ways in which we can talk directly from the MōVI controller to the MōVI Pro using this new radio module or something like that.
What's the average battery life for MōVI Pro?
1 hour. You get about 1 hour off 2 batteries if you're powering the camera. If you're not powering the camera, it'll last a lot longer. Like Hugh and I were filming BTS for Neckface with an A7S, and what do you think, 4 hours?
Probably about 4 hours, but we were, and powering the camera. Too.
Yeah, so we were powering the camera as well. So the A7S was just being powered off of MōVI Pro batteries, and it was lasting 4 hours or so. So it lasts forever with an A7S.
Does your rig work with Alexa Mini motors? And would you be able to control with Airy WC4?
No, you cannot control with the WC4. And I'm not super familiar with the Airy focus motors, but if they are the type of motors that I think they are, which are like developed maybe in collaboration with C-Motion, like the integrated brushless driver, they won't work. Those are a different kind of focus motor that has an integrated brushless driver and a brushless motor.
Joshua, we are doing this on Wednesday again and tomorrow night, so if you need to spend some time with your girlfriend, just come back tomorrow or the next day.
What wireless video transmission system do you prefer to use with the MōVI and Alta? Also, can you use the Mimic to control while on the Alta or just the controller?
Can you use the Mimic to control on the Alta? Yeah, you can use the Mimic while controlling on the Alta. The Mimic can connect, you can control the gimbal remotely anywhere with the Mimic. And then you can use multiple control inputs at once. So if you wanted to use a Mimic and a MōVI controller at once, you could. So I could give control of camera pointing to Hugh on a Mimic, and then somebody else could be doing focus, iris, and zoom with a MōVI controller, or you can mix and match things the way you want to. What was the first part of that question?
Wireless video transmission system do you prefer to use with the MōVI and Alta?
Yeah, I mean, we're using all Teradek, Paralinks, Connex is the main things we're using. I tend to use Connex for things that I feel like I might destroy or crash. So that's typically what I'm using.
Where did you learn your craft?
Me? What craft? Which one? Aerial flying, aerial cinematography I learned just from the School of Hard Knocks. I flew by a remote control airplane field about 15 plus years ago, and I saw a guy flying a remote control helicopter, and I was like, oh my god, that is the coolest thing I have ever seen in my life. And then I got into it and started playing around with it like right as I was graduating from college, and I just became obsessed with the notion of attaching a camera to a remote control helicopter, and I spent every dime that I had and every waking minute that I had trying to make that a reality. And I initially did it just for photography, and then eventually got into panoramas, and then DSLRs hit the scene, and I thought, okay, I've got the photography side of this business cracked pretty well. I should surely be able to shoot great video, no problem. And I tried it for the first time, and it was terrible. And that just completely reinvigorated me to reinvest and double down and figure out how to shoot perfectly stable video from drones. So I'd say, kind of in the last 10 years, the first 5 years of that time span, I just spent getting my ass kicked from a technical standpoint, just constantly evolving and iterating and trying new things with helicopters and drones and multi-rotors and gimbals and just learning tons of stuff. And then the subsequent 5 years have been spent building this place, building Freefly, and trying to keep it growing and keep it healthy and keep it optimistic and upbeat, in a place where incredible people come together to innovate and add great tools for the filmmaking community. And I think for a self-made company that's only 5 years old, we're off to a good start. We've had, I would say, for the size of our team, we've had a disproportionately high number of interesting products. So I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of the team.
What's the total weight that the rig can take?
15 pounds.
We got a question from Chris Hare. Any plans to make the low-profile handle compatible with the old style 25mm handles?
This one? This guy? It just connects via toe in the hole, Chris. Come on, man. Clearly that can't be the question you're asking.
He says nice shirt too, by the way, by earlier.
Thanks, Chris.
Doesn't the Paralinx Teradek overpower the Futaba 2.4 signal?
We're not using, I want to make sure I understand. If you are using Futaba 2.4 signal, I've never experienced any crosstalk between those two things. The frequency hopping and signal robustness of the Futaba system is among the best I've ever seen in my whole life. I've been flying Futaba stuff on all my personal drones for 10 plus years, and I've never had a single issue with it. So I trust that system. I have an unbelievable amount of trust for that system. I've never had any wireless or anything step on that frequency. Who is that from?
That was from Mike Fortin.
Okay.
We use the Mimic as our main gimbal controller with the Alta. For us, it's the most intuitive method, and when it works, we create incredibly sick shots. The only issue has been range. I don't see the rest of it. I can't see the rest of it.
The only issue has been the range. Will the range of the new Mimic resolve this bottleneck?
I hope so. I think so. It's kind of a tough one. I think it should be fine. I'm hesitant to say definitely yes, because people have such unbelievably different experiences with wireless and RF. So what I can say is the minimum range that we're getting with MōVI Pro is much better than the minimum range that we get with the old radio module. So this new radio module, it's the same one that RT Motion uses. It's frequency hopping, spread spectrum. So for instance, if you had a wireless router that you turned on that was on the same channel as the old radio module, you could have big interference problems with that. You'll have less interference problems with the new one because it is constantly hopping frequencies, more so like the Futaba system is.
We have a few questions on the price. What is the price of MōVI Pro and what does it include?
Okay, so the price of the handheld bundle is $6,500, and that includes the ring, the gimbal, and the Mimic. So the Mimic is made up of that little Mimic module there, and then I don't know where the Mimic handles are right there. And then also it includes 2 batteries, like these guys, and then 2 chargers, and then a handful of accessories. I don't remember exactly what we send, like a couple tools and a couple spare parts and cables and kits and that kind of thing.
Question from Joshua: is the plate the same? Will the 1A Tools tripod adapter work with the MōVI Pro?
It will not work. We changed the bottom camera plate to be more of a dovetail design to give more of a positive clamp and allow kind of easier insertion and extraction of the camera. So the profile, if you're looking at the camera plate from the end, the profile has changed. It's no longer a square profile. It's actually got a little bit of dovetail to it. Sorry, guys.
How long do each of the batteries last for?
It depends on the camera package. So if you're using a Red Epic and Alexa, 2 batteries will power the gimbal, the camera, and all the accessories for about an hour. If you're not powering the camera from the gimbal, then it'll last much longer, like maybe 4 hours, let's say, depending on the type of usage you're doing, but they'll last forever then.
Can you use the Mimic in the car while the MōVI is mounted on the outside of the vehicle?
Yes.
Or will it get confused?
Same question.
Yeah.
I mean, so the gimbal will do whatever the Mimic does. So if you are in a car and you're driving down a road Here, I'll reenact this. So if you're doing this and you're driving down a road and the car's taking turns like this, 180 turn, the Mimic will interpret that as camera inputs and respond accordingly. So if you didn't want that to happen, yeah, it would be tough to use Mimic in that circumstance. MōVI controller might be better, or I'm trying to think if you could possibly use the pan lock feature. I don't know.
What's the HD receiver on your controller?
On this guy? What's on this guy? Paralinks?
How much does the Bear gimbal, I'm guessing, weigh with just the batteries and no ring or landing gear?
No ring or landing gear. No ring or landing gear. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. Do we have the hanging scale here? No, we don't. I'm sorry. I can't answer that one.
What fizz motors are recommended for the MōVI Pro?
Any of the normal fizz motors that just are DC DC motors will work fine. So I'm afraid to even say the name of that company because I got made fun of last time. Hedin. However you say it, they're lovely motors from Sweden. So we use these a lot. The Red Rock motors also work great. There's a full compatibility list for the Wedge, I believe, that all the same motors will work with MōVI Pro, the same ones that work with Wedge.
Will the new MōVI integrate with a Steadicam arm at some point for fatigue relief and added stabilization?
Yeah, for sure. You can mount it directly. Anything you could mount, let me grab the way we do it. Anything you can mount a toad in the hole to. I don't know where one is. We have these Ninja Stars with toad in the hole mounted to them, and you can bolt them to just about anything. I don't see it. You see one? No? Anyway, you can imagine what it is. It's a toad mounted to a cheese plate essentially, and then you can bolt that thing to anything.
Is the weight of the MōVI Pro different from the M15?
Oh. It's the other side of this though.
Then you wanted the Ninja Star. It's light, right?
Yeah, so you would do a Ninja Star with the male toad mounted to it, and then you could mount that to whatever thing you wanted to, whether it's a stabilizer arm, the Flow Cine arm, whatever, and then you can mount the MōVI right on top of it, and then you have, if you want an isoelastic arm taking out the Z-axis movement, you have that, and then you have the MōVI correcting for angular disturbance.
So back to the weight of the new MōVI Pro, different from the M15?
It's about the same, depending on how you kit it out and set it up. Like, I think you can actually arrive at a shooting package that's more capable, that weighs less if you use all of the integration that's there from the focus, iris, zoom, and the camera power, because you no longer have an IDX battery on the side of this thing. So I think the overall weight is going to end up about the same, or maybe slightly less, depending on how much of our integration you choose to use.
Are you planning to design larger batteries for uses that need longer battery time, or a connector allowing to power the gimbal with AC?
We're not planning on either of those right now. The workflow swapping in and out batteries is pretty easy. So we don't get a ton of people that have setups that want to do that. So kind of what we're thinking is that those people, if they have a use where they need the gimbal to stay live for 4 hours, most likely they're going to do some level of customization. And if they want to add an external connector to this camera, to the battery plate, they could. Because you're still going to have to power everything else off of something, and unless you're going to have limited pan range, there's only so many places to put batteries for this. So I don't know.
Does the Mimic need a separate receiver attached to the gimbal, or is it now built in?
The Mimic receiver is built in to this unit here. And one thing I haven't touched on, there's a GPS antenna right here, and then one right there. So no matter which way you have the gimbal, you have adequate satellite reception.
What's the battery charge time?
Battery charge time, if you run it from full down to dead, ends up about an hour or a little under an hour, depending on how much you've discharged out of the packs.
Would you say the MōVI Pro is overkill for a Sony A7S Mark II?
Yeah, for sure. But we shoot with an A7S all the time. We shot the whole behind-the-scenes video for Ty Evans' shoot with an A7S II and Canon Cine Primes. So I guess to answer that question seriously, it really depends how you kit out your A7S. If you got an A7S that's like in stock Sony mode, where you're using A7S and the Sony 16-35, and you're using their autofocus, etc., then that's a really tiny, lightweight package, similar to this. Yeah, MōVI Pro might be overkill. If you've got the thing fully kitted out in cinema mode with Cine lens and focus, iris, maybe zoom control, maybe some of the bigger Sony lenses, then it becomes more interesting. The thing I really like about shooting with that camera for behind the scenes stuff is you can power the camera off the gimbal, and it lasts. Our whole package lasted for for 4 hours or something. So when you're shooting BTS and you're just trying to capture content that we're going to edit down into something great, it's awesome to not futz around with anything. You're just shooting for 4 hours straight. So,
how does the pan motor hold up when tracking cars from the Alta? M15 couldn't hold pan very well when flying next to a car, and the gimbal was turned 90 degrees to frame the car.
Yeah. So the pan torque has doubled on MōVI Pro. To try and help you with your current setup with M15 though, one thing that'll help you visualize and set up your gimbal a little more effectively is, so if you imagine you're flying sideways, the gimbal's going like this through the air, and you've got a certain amount of drag behind the pan motor, and you've got a certain amount of drag in front of the pan motor, and that varies at different speeds. So you can kind of picture trying to make those profiles the same. Like, I guess the easy way to describe it, let me draw it on a piece of paper. We've got pan motor here, and the axis goes down here. Oh. Axis goes down there where I just ruined the paper. And you've got a certain profile that comes here, and a certain profile, let's say that this is the lens. This is a terrible drawing. Certain profile that comes there. When you look at it from 90 degrees, if you were to take this area and sum it all up, you would want it to equal the area behind the pan motor. So you can experiment and play with that with your M15 and hopefully get to a situation where you get better performance for that type of shot. A lot of times it's kind of counterintuitive, but you might need to add drag in front of the pan axis. So a good way to test is to fly sideways and see which way the gimbal blows out. And then, if it were, let's say you fly sideways and it blows out this way, it means you need more drag on the lens side. So you'd need to add something on this side. You can add it anywhere in front of the pan motor that provides some drag, but then you can get to a point where you're flying forward at 35 miles an hour. There's almost zero torque being exerted by the pan motor. And a lot of people have noticed this, like, how come when I have a pan or a huge matte box, it works perfect, but then when I take the matte box off, it doesn't work as well at high speeds in pan. And that's just because the drag, kind of before, forward and aft of the pan motor isn't the same, isn't equal.
Black Friday discount this Thanksgiving, perhaps?
For MōVI Pro? I don't think we have anything planned for MōVI Pro for Black Friday.
Will there be an upgrade path for those of us with the Mimic Beta?
There will be an upgrade, not an upgrade path. You'll have, you can use you'll be able to use the old Mimic with the MōVI Pro if you wanted to, or you can use the new Mimic with MōVI Pro, but other than that, not really an upgrade path. The Mimic firmware is now, the Mimic firmware for Mimic Beta is now out of beta. It's like standard production firmware, so it's good to go.
Auto tune. If we're taking the MōVI Pro up on an Alta, where once it is flight, let me start over. If we're taking it up on the Alta, where once it's in flight, we need more stiffness. How does it account for this when the auto tuning is done on the ground?
Well, the way we tune the Alta typically is install the complete camera package on the Alta, hang the Alta, and then auto tune it, and you'll find optimal settings that way. If we do that, we typically can't increase the stiffness any from there. So I'm not sure if I follow the question exactly. It should work if you use that methodology.
Is the cage wide enough to accommodate a Red Dragon with side handle attached and still have room for an HD downlink?
side handle, like the red volt side handle, if that's what it is. I think it is. You'd have to get pretty sneaky about where you got the wireless mounted in there. But certainly if you've mounted, sometimes we mount the wireless underneath this cage here. You could definitely mount it that way. Like if you took this wireless, put it there, have the Epic with the side handle.
Question,
Yep.
is there a smaller version coming?
Of MōVI Pro? Nothing immediately, but I kind of do like the idea of a smaller version of this tailored towards A7S.
How much does the ring weigh as provided in the kit?
Let's weigh one. Grab one of these guys. I think like maybe 2 more questions. And I should probably wrap this up.
Same gimbal motors like the M15.
Unit grams. Let's switch to ounces.
John wants to know
750 grams.
if you can get it in gold.
In gold? Who pushed you up to that question? Someone from our marketing and brand department, I think. I've been having a miniature war about my distaste for the color gold, but I've lost. Very clever. Who's John? That's not his real name.
John Santry.
Yeah, you can get it in gold, John.
If I get one, will I be the coolest kid on the block?
MōVI Pro.
No, you will not. But you will have a MōVI Pro, so you will be able to create short films for your immediate community that will endear you to them to a level that you will become the coolest kid on the block.
This is a good last question. Is that your manufacturing shop? Tour, please.
Okay. Let's do a quick tour. This is how we end the day at Freefly here. The Inductrix FPV.
What's the expansion port in the Mimic for too?
So this over here is engineering, build, and prototype area. There's Shane Colton. He is currently working on MōVI XL. There's a couple MōVI XLs over there. So I would say in general we do some manufacturing and final assembly here. We do all of Alta here, and then some of the higher volume products we do outside of Freefly. We're not really set up to manufacture at the level or the quantities that we need to for that. But this is Wes's area over here, which is production, manufacturing, final assembly. So as we take a right, we're kind of getting into the assembly line. So they're building lots of MōVIs, and they're preparing to build MōVI Pros right now. And as we cruise down this line, you're getting into RMA. So Ray works over here, and when you guys crash Altas into the ocean and destroy MōVIs in these epic and horrific ways, that's where he'll fix them up, and they're turning things around just blazing fast these days, which is really impressive because sometimes these things come in just a horrific state. And then we've got 3 racks here of inventory that we're keeping all of our parts and everything in stock, all our accessories and finished goods. And then as we cruise down this way, this is inventories area here. We have shipping and receiving to the right, which I'll come around and show. So this is where everything ships out of. So just today we shipped a unit to Shane Hurlbutt and Chris Herr. We've got our prototyping area here. So we got a 20-foot glulam beam right now that we're turning into a product showroom table, which is pretty cool. This is kind of David Bloomfield's area. So we've got 3D printers, CNC routers, mills, lathes, that kind of thing, and we're doing prototyping in here, just a proof of concept before we go into manufacturing, that kind of thing. We'll come back out of there. And then as we come over here, we've got the you want to get the door for a Meerkat room, Ryan?
Yeah.
We've got Meerkat room here. Oh, I let off the throttle a little bit too much here. So Meerkat is in this. Meerkat is in here. So that's Dave, that's Dennis. So this is where the Meerkat team over the last 12 months has developed Meerkat. Just kind of split down the middle of ME and EEs. So I'm going to come back out. Hopefully Ryan is out of the way. And then if we come down here, we'll find Alta room. This is my faithful Tundra that I've had since I started Freefly Cinema. So this is where the Alta team works. So that's Merritt. So this is Alta room. Whoa, we got a little downdraft there. Coming out, coming out. Let's go in the kitchen. And then, yeah, here we are again, back to us. We'll bring it in. Bring it in for a landing. Hi, buddy. The state of drones these days is just ridiculous. That there exists a toy that weighs that much that I can cruise around the whole shop here and do that is just, oh my god. So lucky to be alive at this time. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hope answer some questions. We'll see you again Wednesday to talk your ear off even more. I'll post a link to some of the things that we use, like the Flow Cine arm, that grip tech mount, because I've gotten a lot of people that have been asking me about what those things are specifically. So I'll post it up so you guys can use it if you want to. Thanks. It's been fun.